Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to be baking a cake that was inspired by my recent trip up to Maine, vacation land, utterly gorgeous Maine, where blueberries are aplenty. And today we're going to be making a blueberry cake, more specifically a cake called Melt in Your Mouth Blueberry Cake. This recipe gained a ton of popularity when it was shared in Cooking Down East, a cookbook written by Marjorie Standish, who some people call the Julia Child of Maine. And while I was up in Maine, I found this book, Keep Cooking the Maine Way by Marjorie Standish. This is the follow-up to Cooking Down East. Look at this great cover. There's Marjorie right there. So Marjorie wrote for the Maine Sunday Telegram. She had a regular column there in which she shared recipes that people sent in. And this book is a collection of some of those recipes. And today I'm going to be sharing the blueberry cake recipe, which was found in the first book, Cooking Down East. But there's some interesting recipes in here, including, I always like looking for the dirtiest pages because I feel like those are the pages that were the most used. But there's an apple cake recipe that sounds interesting in here. 90-minute yeast rolls. I'm always interested in quick yeasted breads. This one sounds really interesting. She calls it mystery pie. It sounds like the Ritz mock apple pie, but made with saltines instead of Ritz crackers. So lots of great recipes in here, but the blueberry cake that I'm going to be making today, Marjorie said, was by far the most popular. So let's go ahead and make the melt in your mouth blueberry cake. So to make this cake, of course, you're going to need some blueberries. And look at these blueberries. Aren't they gorgeous? Pick these up from our local farm. So gorgeous. Look at the size of these berries. So good. So little good. Big old fatties. So we're gonna sift our dry ingredients. Ruh-roh. I'm gonna have to get some more flour soon. And we're going to sift a cup and a half of all-purpose flour. Okay. Alrighty. So along with that, we're going to add our leavening, which is some baking powder. Standard 1 teaspoon. And we're going to sift that to get all the lumps out. Okay. Now the reason why I did that first is because we're going to dust our blueberries in some of this flour. And Marjorie says that's to keep the blueberries from sinking in the batter. It's supposed to keep them suspended, which I found to be an interesting tip, right? Okay, I need another measuring cup. Right, cup and a half of blueberries. All right, I got a couple stems. Pull those off. Now, we're gonna take a little bit of our flour mixture and dust our berries. I've never done this before. All right, well coated, beautiful. This recipe calls for 2 eggs and that they be separated. So these are the whites. We'll add the yolks later, and we're going to beat these to stiff peaks and adding some of the sugar for this recipe in here as well. That's supposed to help maintain the stiffness, as they say. All right. All right, getting pretty close. Okay, I'm gonna add the rest of the sugar and finish beating that up. All right, essentially we have a meringue. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. Gorgeous, glossy, and nice and stiff. Okay. In this bowl, I have half a cup of vegetable shortening. I have also seen this recipe adapted for butter. So if you want to use butter, you can use an equal amount of butter. But I'm going to follow the original and stick with shortening. We're going to cream that with the rest of our sugar. So here we go. Scrape things down a bit. And add my salt and vanilla. Generous teaspoon. Cream some more. So now we are creamed, and we are going to add our egg yolks one at a time. Look how beautiful that is. Gorgeous. And beat until light and fluffy. Scrape down the sides. Last yolk. Now we're going to add our sifted flour in a couple of batches along with some milk. I'm just going to fold that in. Actually, I'll use the mixer. It's sitting right here. And the rest of our flour. And then our milk. Okay, so our batter's pretty thick at this point. So our thick cake batter, finally we are going to add our whipped egg whites we made earlier. Add just a little bit and just stir that in. I'm not going to be too gentle. This will lighten up the batter and make it easier to incorporate the rest of the egg whites. Okay, now the rest. Okay, so I still have some streaks of egg white in there. I'm not going to be too concerned because I'm going to still mix in the blueberries. So once I get those in, everything should be well combined. Now our dusted berries, bloop, and fold those in as well. Those berries are enormous. So if you were in Maine, you would be doing these with wild blueberries, hopefully. All right, so berries are folded in. Great. Now I've got an 8x8 square pan, and I'm going to grease it with cake spray or pan spray. When it comes to releasing cakes, I like using this. I like the ones particularly that contain flour. Regular sprays I found often don't work. Like avocado spray just by itself, no. I also like to hold my breath, even though I'm sure it's still airborne. Okay, now we're gonna take our cake batter and distribute it into the pan and smooth it out evenly. And make sure we get it all the way into the corners. And get the last little bit out of my bowl. Let's leave anything behind. Then I like to clean up the edges so that it rises nicely, and then when I'm taking the cake out, I don't get my mitts all dirty. Alrighty, so into a preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven and bake it anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. I found different recipes, and all the recipes were pretty much entirely exactly the same except for butter or shortening, but the baking times varied. Some said 40 to 45, others said 50 to 60. So I'm going to go with 40 first, check, and then go from there. And I shall report back what worked for me. Oh, I almost forgot. We want to top this with a little bit more sugar. I'm out of granulated sugar, so I'm going to use just a bit of brown sugar. Just kind of sanding it over the top. Give it a little bit more of a crunch and sweetness. Alrighty, now into the oven. I'll see you in a little bit. Oh, once we take the cake out of the oven, we're going to let it cool on a rack before we cut into it. Okay, lovelies, I'll see you in a little bit. Right, cake, in a little bit. Alrighty, my lovelies, here is the finished blueberry cake, and it looks beautiful. See the blueberries on the side there, the top toasted up beautifully. Although I would not suggest sprinkling brown sugar on top. It's a little bit too dark for the crust, but I did find some turbinado sugar, which has really nice big chunks and often is sprinkled on top of muffins, and I think that was a good choice. Kind of looks like little crystals on top. But the cake batter browned beautifully, and this baked in my oven for 43 minutes. So definitely check it after 40 minutes, even though the recipe says 50. Err on the side of less because you don't want a dry cake, right? I also let the cake cool for about 5 minutes before inverting it, and then I placed it on a little piece of cake board and then let it cool. It is still warm, not hot, but warmer than room temperature, but not hot. Okay, so let me get a plate so we can cut into this. It does have a bit of a crackly top, so I'm gonna use my serrated knife. Get a nice square. Let's take a look. Oh my gosh, look at that blueberry goodness. Ooh-wee, that looks great. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Alrighty, loveliest, moment of truth. Let's give the melt in your mouth blueberry cake a taste. Ooh, looks tender. Chock full of blueberries. Here we go. Itadakimasu. It does melt in your mouth. It's fluffy and light and just full of blueberry summery goodness. Look at that. A little hint of mint on there too. And do not skip on sprinkling the sugar on top. It lends such a nice crunchy texture and a little added sweetness. You hear that? This is a cake, but it's not too sweet. It's almost like a muffin, but fluffier and lighter. I think because I associate the combination of blueberries in a baked good with a blueberry muffin, but I prefer this. It's not overly sweet. I sometimes find muffins, particularly the ones that you can buy at grocery store bakeries, to be so sweet and heavy. Kind of like a banana bread, but not as good. This is not that at all. This is light and airy and fluffy. And tart. The blueberries are full of blueberry flavor and tartness and go so nicely with the cake. The texture is wonderful. It really does kind of just melt into your mouth in a light and fluffy way. Oh, you know what would make this just over the top sinfully good? A little bit of vanilla ice cream. Or a little tiny dollop of whipped cream. That would be great. I really love how chock full of blueberries this cake is, and it's really about the blueberries. The cake accentuates the blueberries, but it's really the blueberries who are the star here. And go ahead and throw a few more on top. Having the fresh berries with the cooked jammy berries, such a good combination. Crunchy sugar. Delicious. Alrighty, my lovelies, there you have it. Marjorie Standish's melt in your mouth blueberry cake. 100% worth it. If you've got blueberries where you are, I would say make this. This would be so good with a cup of coffee in the morning, which is what I'm going to have tomorrow for breakfast. Alright, my lovelies, thanks as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! All right, time to go find some ice cream.